Fight or Flight is the newest action movie featuring a bunch of assassins on a vehicle, and it is not nearly as good as I hoped it would be. When the trailer came out, a lot of people compared it to Bullet Train, understandably. It's quite different than that, but for direct comparison's sake, I will say it is like Bullet Train if you removed a lot of what gave that movie its unique personality. I was looking forward to this because of Josh Hartnett. Been a big fan of that guy ever since the 90s. I was watching The Faculty and Halloween H2O over and over and over again on VHS. And it's been nice seeing him have kind of a resurgence. He was in Oppenheimer. I was excited to see him in a leading role in a movie that isn't directed by M. Night Shyamalan. And he's good. He seems like he's having a lot of fun. He's very committed to the action scenes. I enjoyed watching him. I'm glad he got the role. I would like to see him start to get some better stuff, please. It's not like this is a deep movie and a deep character and he can really show off all of his acting talent, but he's fun. He's enjoyable to watch. I just want him to be handed some better scripts. Luckily, you have Josh Hartnett and also you have some good action. The two things I thought could be solid, they are. It does have those things going for it. It's pretty brutal. There's some CG blood, but for the most part, it's still enjoyable to watch. People get ripped apart. People get their bones massively broken. Josh Hartnett's character gets his ass kicked quite a bit because he's ex-Secret Service. He's a complete badass, but he's been out of the game for a while. He's an alcoholic, so he's not in top form. He takes a lot of punishment as well, which feels pretty brutal and visceral, and so the action was good. This is James Madigan's first feature directorial film, I think. But he shoots it pretty well. It's a little shaky, not to the point of like nausea or you can't tell what's going on. It's an intentional choice just to add a little extra layer of intensity to the fight scenes. It got a little old. It's the kind of thing I think you should use sparingly every now and then, like when you get to the most intense part of a fight scene, maybe shake the camera a little bit, but it's shaking pretty much all the time. Again, to a degree where you can still totally see everything that's happening and you can appreciate the choreography, the stunt work, everything the actors are doing. It's just not my preference. I would have preferred it stay completely still. Like, you can let the actors be the ones to sell it. You don't have to be moving the camera like this all the time, but still, very good action. It was enjoyable. Unfortunately, whenever there wasn't action happening, I was quite bored. A big issue for me is that the comedy just didn't really land. There were a few chuckles. There were a few laughs from people around me in my theater, but not even nearly as many as I expected. Usually, even when I'm not laughing, there will be some people around me who are laughing just non-stop when you go see a comedy, and it wasn't really happening with this one. There were a lot of jokes that just got no reaction out of anybody. It's trying really hard to be goofy and funny, like all the time, and it just really often did not land for me. I think a lot of it comes down to comedic timing. There is one joke in particular that's a good example of this. It's actually a reveal. And I'm going to try to describe this without spoiling anything. Not like it's a big reveal, but it is a reveal. But essentially the camera zooms out and you have a location revealed. And it's supposed to be a joke, and I legitimately didn't get it. Because when you see it, there is one obvious explanation for what you're seeing that like anybody would probably think of. So I just thought of that. I just thought, oh, okay, the most simple explanation. Sure. But there was dialogue way later in the film that made me realize that shot from earlier was meant to communicate something else. And I hadn't picked up on that at all. It didn't seem like that's what they were trying to reveal. And it's kind of a funny idea, but they just completely botched the execution of it. If you've seen the movie and you have any idea what I'm talking about, let me know down in the comments. Am I insane, or did you also have that experience? So the comedy really didn't land. It also just doesn't do very much to stand out. They don't do many things that are that memorable. They try to give the main character kind of an arc where he is on the run because he did something that was true to his morality and his conscience, and that got him in trouble with certain people. And now maybe he's trying to prove that he is still a good person or figure out if he's still a good person. But it's just not a very strong arc because I never believed that he was a bad person. Like, he is heavy on the drinking, he'll kick ass when he needs to, he'll kill a guy if he has to, but it never really felt to me like he's a shitty human being now. It always felt like, yeah, he'll do the right thing in the end. That was really never in doubt. So if you had had a strong arc where he actually became like a real scumbag and had to try to get back to who he was before, they kind of try to have a little bit of emotion surrounding that. And it just fell totally flat for me because I never bought that he would ever be a bad guy. There's a little bit of mystery at the beginning of who the target on the plane is because nobody knows what they actually look like. They're trying to figure it out. So you've got Josh Hartnett trying to protect this person to bring them in, and everybody else on the plane, or at least a lot of the people on the plane, trying to kill them. That mystery is taken out very early on. You find out the identity rather quickly, and so you could have done more with that. You could have had a longer mystery where a bunch of the killers are just trying to kill other people, and it turns out, no, I'm also one of the assassins, and they're just trying to kill anybody and everybody not knowing who the target is. You could have had fun with that, but they reveal it very quickly. All the assassins don't really have personality, except for one. They're just guys who grab weapons, barely have any dialogue, if any at all, and they're just there to be bodies to be killed. They're really not characters. And if you look at something like Bullet Train, that has a lot of chaos. It's just kind of pure chaos all the time. And whether or not it actually works, I think it goes a little overboard with it sometimes. I think it tries to do a little too much throughout its runtime, but it's unique. It has solid personality. There's an assassin in Bullet Train who's obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine. Whether you think that's funny or not, it's memorable, and this just doesn't have that. These assassins are just random dudes. It doesn't have that kind of chaotic energy and things that make it stand out to where people do still talk about Bullet Train several years later, and I don't think this is going to get that treatment. It tries to have a little bit of, I don't even think you could call it social commentary. I don't know what you could call it, but this person who is the target is a hacker, and they hack for good. They're like, I gotta take down these bad people because they use child labor and slave labor. And I'm like, okay, yeah. You don't have to tell me that slave labor is bad. I'm on board with that already. Trust me. But that's really as deep as it goes, just like slave labor bad. That's about all it has to say. It tries to go into detail about our phones and all of these things that we use all the time. We're always glued onto our phones, not thinking about the fact that some child is the one forced to build it somewhere. But again, it doesn't really have anything beyond that to say. It doesn't go into the moral dilemma of that. We all know that already. That's something we've just accepted and we have to deal with however we deal with it. But it's really not any deeper than, wow, our phones are made in immoral ways. Yeah, I know. What do you want to do about that? It's very tacked on there. It just doesn't feel like you're talking about a serious subject for sure, but you're saying such simplistic things about it. It doesn't feel like you're taking it that seriously. Why did you even need to go there at all? The ending is also really lackluster. It doesn't resolve much. There are things just left open because I guess maybe they want a sequel. I don't know about that. I think maybe you should have just tried wrapping up your story. That would have been good. It wraps up some things, but there are some things that are just kind of left hanging. And I was like, oh, I mean, you could have at least gotten me a nice resolution at the end of all this, but nope. So it's a time killer if you just want an action movie, because even though I think the action's a little too shaky, it is still quite good. It is fun. It is brutal. And I like seeing Josh Hartnett. Katie Sackhoff is in here too. There's some good performances all around, but it just doesn't stand out. And whenever there's no action happening, I was bored. If the comedy was really good, really tightened up that comedic timing, cool. But other than that, there's just not much here to recommend unless you just want to kill time with any action movie. It's serviceable. It's unmemorable. I wish I could rate it higher, but I think I have to go with a 2.5. It's, yeah, it's not bad. It's fine, but it could have been better. You know what? I am going to talk about that one reveal that I was hinting at earlier. If you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to know anything, thank you very much for watching. You're free to leave if you'd like. It's not really like a big thing, but if you don't want to hear it, then that's fine. But basically, we zoom out and we see the place that Katie Sackhoff has been in this entire time is like a social media app company or something like that. And when that was revealed, my first thought was, that's just a cover. That's just a front. Like the CIA or whatever they are is operating in a building that is pretending to be some kind of app developer. Or there is an app development team in that building, but the CIA is like in the basement. Right? Isn't that like the logical first thing you would think? But then you get to the end of the movie and he is directly criticizing them for like their phones being built by child labor. And she says, I have so much more power now than I did when I was in the agency, meaning she isn't anymore. So I guess the joke was they aren't like the CIA. They're app developers, they're tech bros, which is kind of funny, but again, you completely botched the reveal. Like, I didn't get that at all. Am I stupid? They zoomed out and we saw the logo. It was called like Blue Hype. And I was just like, oh, is that supposed to mean something to me? Like, that's the building that they're working in? Okay. If you want that to mean something, you gotta be clear about it, man. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. That about covers my thoughts on Fight or Flight. Leave your opinions down in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree. I would love to talk with you about it down there. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.